Happy Tuesday. We are in Luke 14, and I am just going to read verse 15. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast of the kingdom of God." So, look, feasts, we talked about this, set this up yesterday. Feasts and banquets are a big part of what was happening back then. And the dinners that Jesus gets invited to were sort of common when a rabbi would travel into town. The religious leaders would get together and have some sort of meal for the traveling rabbi to talk to them. Among other things, probably brings news of what was happening. They don't have, they don't have social media. They don't have a Twitter update on what's going on. And so they're going to pry them for information about what's going on in other villages and things like that. But one of the topics that would almost certainly come up was some confirmation about what this religious leader from out of town that they don't know is going to affirm. And so a lot of this would go back. There's a passage in Isaiah chapter 25, verse 6, that, so this is like from 700 years ago, when Isaiah is dreaming of a banquet, again, because this is a big theme in the Bible. There's like 1,000 times you got these big celebrations around food. And there's this, Isaiah is a prophet. He's looking ahead to the great banquet that's going to happen. And the Lord of hosts is going to prepare this amazing feast, and everybody is going to get invited. The guests will include, it says in Isaiah 25, the guests will include all people from all the Gentile nations. Death will come to an end. Every tear will be wiped away. Sort of a foretaste of heaven. Well, by the way, I just want to note again that this idea Jesus comes and he brings a party, and he talks about food and all the banquet and celebration and friends and all of that. Not what people tend to think of when they think about Christianity. But this idea of a banquet was common. But what would happen, and we have documents that we have found that suggest that that there would be this sort of back and forth in which this religious leader would come into town, and the people would talk about this banquet, and what the religious leader was expected to say is, "Oh yes, there will be this banquet, and Yahweh will make a way for everybody to come. People from all over, the Gentiles and the sick and the poor, and all these people will be invited to this banquet." But then to say something like, "I do pray that that I will follow the law so that the banquet will be a good day." And what was suggested was that the banquet that Isaiah talks about, so with such celebration and everybody's going to be invited in, right? And people from all the Gentile nations and the poor and others are going to be invited in. That what the Jews said is, yes, the Lord of hosts is going to show up. He's going to invite all these people, but it's a trap, and they're going to come and they're going to be subject to plagues, and they're going to be subject to persecution, and they're going to realize that they are now among those who are being despised because they haven't kept the pure Jewish law. They haven't been Jews. And so in a separate document to those that we find this, we also find documents that suggest that at this great banquet, no one who is smitten in the flesh or paralyzed in his feet or hands or lame or blind or deaf or dumb will be allowed. So in verse 15, in an effort to sort of sound Jesus out, to confirm that he's one of them, this man says, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast of the kingdom of God." So Jesus is now expected to say something like, "Oh, that we may all keep the law, the Jewish law in such a precise fashion that when the Lord of hosts shows up, we will be counted worthy to sit with the Messiah and all the true believers at his banquet." In other words, no Gentiles are going to be allowed. No one who isn't a Jew, just like me, keeping the law just like we are. We're the right ones. Jesus does not answer this the way this guy wants him to. Instead, he tells another parable, and it is a parable that includes a banquet, as we're going to see, that not only includes the Gentiles, but it includes all the poor and all the sick and all the lame. And the implication is that the religious elite are not invited to this party. So let me just note, we are living during a moment when racism is one of the most challenging and vexing topics. And the problem is we may not be able to agree on much past the fact that racism is a challenging and vexing topic. And you know that there are those on one side that are arguing, you hear about white fragility and critical race theory and the 1619 Project. And then from over here, you hear a complete disagreement that there's any kind of invisible advantages for people who are white, or that there's no accounting for Jim Crow laws or redlining or any of the injustices of the past. And to find people who actually are able to sort of have these intelligent conversations, it's a challenge. So I simply want to note that Jesus never misses an opportunity, seemingly, to go right at the challenges of the day and to speak truth to power. And we see that in Luke chapter 14. He is not going to let racial pride change what he is inviting people into. And so Jesus has a profound reaction to any kind of injustice, and he wonderfully calls us into the kind of sacrificial living that is part of the kingdom of God. A lot to think about there. We'll continue this tomorrow. Have a good day.